Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Christ and TK joining us today over at Court Street Cafe in downtown Port Allen, the only place in the Baton Rouge area that's completely dry. It's not raining at all over there. I am in an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Check out the lasportshall.com. A lot going on. We've got the celebrity golf tournament up in Alexandria at Oak Wing on May 13th, 14th. And then you've got, of course, induction right around the corner, June 20th through 22nd up in Natchitoches. A lot of great events. You definitely want to be a part of it. And we're presented by LeBear's Casino. LeBear's Casino. How was Blackberry Smoke at LeBear's Casino on Saturday night?
It was packed. It was great. Everybody loved it. Saw a lot of people I knew. It was really, really good. It was a big, big hit. They played for a little over an hour and a half, and started right on time. Southern Rock at its best. It was really, really good. Packed house.
Yeah, I heard from LeBear's that they had a lot, like their hardcore following is hardcore, and they had a lot of cash sales, which at a casino, traditionally a lot of the sales, part of its comp as well as cash, meaning you take care of your customers and your players and all that kind of stuff by giving them free tickets. It's an incentive basically really to get them there to come gamble. And it's almost like the music is an afterthought. Whereas this way around, there were a lot more Tommy Christ fans out there that were really into them. They wanted to buy tickets and didn't care about the gambling as much.
Well, and I would say this, Ronnie, I've been to a dozen or more concerts at the event center at LeBear's, and this one was as crowded as anyone I saw. And I mean, the line at the merch table was unbelievable. And I would say because of that, they'll probably come back around in next 12 months, sometimes next April or May or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised to see them come back around because we've seen it. The Marshall Tucker band's played at LeBear's a couple of times. Some of them shows that really create a lot of activity tend to come back. And I can tell you I'll be in that number when they do.
Today on Sports Shorts Daily, we'll talk about a number of different topics. Of course, we got LSU baseball to get to. The Tigers win the second series in a row, albeit you come out of it feeling like a loss because we said and everyone said you had to sweep Auburn. They're the worst team in the league. They came in 2-16 on the season, and they get their third win of the year in the third game of the series. And the Tigers squeaked one out 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth on Saturday. And now A&M, one of the top teams in America, comes to town this weekend.
Yeah, they're number one. Mm-hmm. And you said the thing I was wanting to point out, the Saturday night game. It's 2-2 in the ninth in an SEC game. I don't care if it's Auburn. Anybody's got a chance to win. One ball that bloops in or whatever. But, so they were not that far from losing that series. And I guess you could say that about every weekend. But, and then I watched Cade Anderson yesterday, and he was victim of that the ground ball against the shift, and then a couple of little bloopers that just fell into no man's land. Not that they were tagging the ball, but they got 5 earned runs off of him. He couldn't get out the first inning. It was a mistake to go with him, but that was easy to say after that all happened. I mean, if he mows him down, then it's a great decision. So, it really puts LSU in a spot, as you've discussed at length over the last couple of weeks, that now you gotta somehow win the series against A&M, but I don't see it, Ronnie. There's just Jared Jones, they were down 6-1, and he swung at a 3-0 pitch. I got a base hit, but you shouldn't be swinging at 3-1 pitches when you're down 6-1. You need base runners, okay? And then yesterday in the seventh inning, you had runners on first and second, nobody out. Eighth inning, you had bases loaded, nobody out. You got one run in, and them 2 innings combined. That's not Skip Bertman, one of his famous lines, timely hitting. You got to have it to win baseball games. And this team has not had timely hitting other than Pearson's walk-off Saturday. But, it's just you got to get those people in, and they're just not doing it. And, the pitches, it's not a really good baseball team. There's no other way to say it. Do they have potential? Could it become a really good baseball team as we roll through May? We'll see. I don't know if it can.
Gage Jump was fantastic
on
Friday. The starter for LSU. That's 2 weeks in a row now. He's been amazing. Saturday, Holman got the job done, and the bullpen did its job as well. On Sunday, so I found out after the fact, because initially when Griffin Herring, who has the lowest ERA in the SEC before the weekend and has been LSU's best pitcher for the last month and a half, Griffin Herring, but has worked out of the bullpen. Griffin Herring was available. He didn't throw on Friday or Saturday. Ackenhausen had pitched in relief and had some arm trouble, left the game. And so everyone thought Griffin Herring's going to get the ball on Sunday and he's going to go as long as he can. Instead, Anderson started, the freshman from St. Paul, who hasn't been the same pitcher the last month and a half that he was the first month and a half. But what I found out after the game is that Griffin Herring was not really supposed to pitch because he was sick. He had a bug or something going on about an hour or so before game time. A friend of mine who close to the program was told by, one of the folks on the program that he wasn't going to throw today because he wasn't going to play today because he was sick. And then obviously something changed and Griffin Herring felt better, got an IV, got some juice in him, whatever, and then ended up pitching in relief and did a good job in relief. This leads me to be torn because I almost want him to be so sick he couldn't pitch, right? Like if Griffin Herring knew yesterday he was going to pitch today because he was available, he's their best pitcher, like of course he's going to start. So he shows up and he's not feeling well and he's sick and he's not healthy enough to pitch. And then at some point in a 2-hour window, he gets healthy enough to pitch. Or was he not healthy enough and then he sat there and watched his team? I don't know. It's one of those where you'd like to think that unless he's in the hospital, he's making himself pitch, right? Because he knows how big that game is. He understands the situation. He's saying, it's the Rocky Balboa cut me, Mick, moment where it's like, give me whatever I got to do. I'm going in there to pitch. And if he can't, that's understandable. But what happened in an hour and a half period where all of a sudden he got to where he could, and then he went out there and did well? Well,
it makes you think, Ron, that they're thinking of something out in the future, his draft stock, his ability, the money he can make, instead of thinking about the game Sunday that you have to win to complete this sweep. I don't know. I'm speculating. I certainly don't know the answer to that, but you and I were wired differently, man. If somebody said, "Hey, you got the ball, give it to me," oh, I'm not telling you my arm's sore. I'm not telling you I got the headache I hadn't had in a while. Or I think I'm a little feverish. You just never said that back in the day. But these kids now are different.
Well, it's not only that they're different; it's also that the world is different from a standpoint.
Yes.
If you told a trainer or a coach 20, 30 years ago, it was kind of like, well, yeah, you okay? Suck it up, rub some dirt on it, or like, yeah, I hear you, but I mean, are you okay? Like where now it's whether it's legal reasons, whether it's just the better care, whether it's the right thing to do and we were the wrong thing to do, whatever, it's different. Oh, I don't feel good. Okay, sit down. Where's it hurt? But anyway, it's that all I'm saying is the facts. Hour before the game, hour and a half before the game, Griffin Herring's not pitching today because he's sick. And then all of a sudden, LSU's behind 5-0, and he goes in the game and he pitches well for his 3-4 innings. And Anderson, who's a true freshman who hasn't been in these moments, who hasn't been really. Anderson hasn't really done anything to deserve an SEC start, right? It's not like he's been on the come and he's had these great, he's ready to go. Like he was just forced in there. Like, hey, you're available. You've started a game before. Get in there. And I'm sure for Anderson, it was also a wild moment too. Like his head spinning when he finds out an hour or two before the game that he's going to start, if that much. So. Just a terrible start to the game. When you're behind 5-0 against anybody, you give yourself a low percentage chance. But who doesn't sweat it? Texas A&M. They were down 9-0 on Saturday and came back and 10-run ruled Georgia 19-9. I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
I don't either, and it makes you think that A&M's coming to town and winning 3 games, unless Gage Jump or Holman can, have a great performance and coordinate that with scoring some runs and not leaving runners in scoring position, and taking chances, taking get opportunity with guys on base, get them in. I mean, play baseball. I mean, it's tough. I mean, they're gonna beat Grambling tomorrow night, I would think, but A&M, that's the number one team in the country for a reason. They only took 2 out of 3 against Georgia this past weekend, but they're still the number one team in the country.
And I think it's realistic to hope and believe that LSU can win one this weekend against A&M. It is a long shot, and quite frankly, it would be a stunning upset if LSU were to take 2 out of 3 from A&M this weekend. That's why sweeping Missouri and/or sweeping Auburn was so crucial. Those are 2 games that you're going to look back on at the end of the year if you fall short of your goal. And regardless of what capacity, whether it's we only got 12 wins, we needed 13 to get to a regional, we only got 14 wins, we needed 15 to host. Whatever the reason, you're going to look back at those games. Holman and 3 home runs on the road against Missouri, who's hitting 205, and you lose. And then at home against an Auburn team that I talked to one of our former Rougarou players. He was out Friday night, ran into a bunch of the Auburn players at the bars because he knows them and he's friends with them. And they're just like, yeah, we're done. We've mailed it in, they're just basically saying, we don't even care anymore. And then,
well, they don't.
Yeah.
It's as Chance said earlier, this team's tough to watch sometimes, and also Jones looked at strike 3 with guys on second and third, fastball down the middle. He looked at it. He's not good enough to pick pitches. Tommy White's probably good enough to pick pitches, but Jones is not. But he's looking curveball.
I think Tommy White was hitless this weekend.
He was up before yesterday. I got the box score here at Court Street Cafe. But no, I mean it's I don't know. It makes you shake your head. Because Jones is looking for breaking balls. He knows he can't hit it. He's going to try to fight it off or something. And then, he ran back, and it was only like 91, 92 mile an hour. It's not like a guy was throwing smoke. Don't forget Court Street Cafe. Jason and the staff do a great job here. 805 Court Street in Port Allen. You can connect on Facebook and Instagram. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Got a big event coming up this coming Sunday. They just gave me the info. Taylor Nauta, who I've seen in concert, and he is really, really good. He will be here at Court Street Cafe this Sunday for their Sunday brunch and live music. Krista just handed me that just now. So Court Street Cafe, get on over here and check it out. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Big crowd this morning in the rain. I guess the guy that couldn't work outside jumped in here to get some breakfast.
Yeah, I have seen Taylor singing a few times. He does a great job. All right, so we move off LSU baseball, who now finds themselves in a situation in order to get 13 wins, which is the magic number to punch your ticket to a regional, we believe, this year for them. And they've got to either win all 3 series remaining against A&M, Alabama on the road, who's playing well, and Ole Miss at home, or you have to take 1 against A&M, maybe 2 out of 3 against Alabama, and hope to sweep Ole Miss at home. But all of that, not very realistic. All right, we move on. The draft was this past week. Your takeaway, SEC once again, right, dominates the draft, and your takeaway on what LSU and what the Saints did. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the 18th straight year, FCC had the most players picked, okay? Chance brings up the question, how do we grade the Saints draft? Now, I've read some stuff on that. Just about everybody's giving them a C, the C+, or the C-. They're not, jumping up and down about the draft, but they've been more critical of a couple of other teams. So, I don't know why they took the quarterback, Spencer Rattler, because if you count Taysom Hill, they now got 7 quarterbacks on the roster. I mean, that's foolish. I don't know, and I don't think Rattler can play in the NFL either. So why you even spend a pick on him when you could have got some offensive lineman that you roll the dice with that he might be good, or another defensive player? But we'll see. The Saints are the Saints.
The value, the justification was that they felt like they had a high grade on Spencer Rattler, that he was a much better than a 5th round pick. And so they probably got excited and thought there was a lot of value there to go ahead and get him. and look, it's not fair to this young man that I've watched his, the documentary on him when he was in high school and followed him early on in his career. And quite frankly, he felt like he was a very selfish, sort of me, egomaniac quarterback early on in high school and college. Now, has he matured and changed? And was he a great teammate at South Carolina? And did all the things you want as a quarterback? I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure the Saints know, I'm sure they did their homework on him and interviewed the coaches and found out that, hey, man, he's so different at 22 than he was at 18. And, it's not all that. Okay. And I'm sure we all were different and better and more mature usually with age. So hopefully that's the case. But I just kind of visualize him as a little undersized, a gunslinger type guy who, he might throw that awesome throw, but also may throw it into double coverage because he's got too much confidence in his arms talent. And again, I go back to also, right, you're strapped with this guy at quarterback. You've already committed to his contract. And for a team that has so many needs, it is interesting. It's not as interesting as the Atlanta Falcons, who went 8th overall and did what they did, and obviously took Penix, who's going to sit the bench for 3 years before he can even think about playing. But at the same time, the Spencer Rattler pick is interesting. How about this? That Michael Pratt didn't go to the 7th round, and that's very telling because you got the New Orleans Saints right there in New Orleans who have a firsthand look at Michael Pratt, probably know what he had for lunch that last week. And they had a chance to get him in the 5th round when Michael Pratt was expected to go to 2nd and 3rd round and fell all the way to the 7th round. Clearly, he won a lot of games at Tulane, but those who know, a little bit overrated in college. And probably Michael Pratt, who had the ability to come back for another year, should have.
Yeah, so easy to say that now. And I thought he would go higher than where he went. I liked what I saw out of Michael Pratt. Like you said, the NFL teams go through far more scrutiny and due diligence than I do, obviously. And, for all 32 of them, just keep passing on him. And there's obviously that situation. But he does get picked late for Green Bay. And, Ronnie, I read the list yesterday of the undrafted free agents. I mean, like 200 guys got signed if you go through all 32 teams, and getting a chance. Several guys from LSU, some guys from the Raging Cajuns, some guys from Tulane going to get a chance, but we'll just have to see. Also, Ronnie, it had about, I think it was 9 or 10 Power 4. They've officially started calling it the Power 4 teams that did not have a player drafted. And leading that list, Colorado did not have a player drafted. So maybe that's why they went 4-8 last year. But Deion has guaranteed a bowl game this year. He did that at their spring game this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. But
let's go, Prime. It's amazing. The story about Colorado was a national story leading up to the start of the season. Obviously, the first month or so of the season when they got off
3-0, yeah.
Start, we were talking about it, and now it's kind of like that 15 minutes closed for a minute, and now people have moved on outside of Colorado. I mean, obviously in the state, they're still selling out games. They still care. It's a huge story. Deion's worth every dime that they spent for that school and merch and everything. But nationally, it's kind of like we were all into it. And then once they went on that terrible losing streak and okay, they're not even good enough to make a bowl game. All right, good story for a minute. I'm really interested to seeing the bounce back. I've watched the documentary on Prime, on the Prime Network. Funny that it would be on Prime Video about Prime.
That was a no-brainer, right? Yeah, that was a no-brainer.
Right. I mean, he probably could have gone to Netflix. He's like, no, I want to go to Prime. But and it's very interesting to see the behind the scenes. I mean, of last year's season, they probably had 5 episodes or something, 6 episodes. And look, I'm a Deion fan. If you watch the documentary and you see how he and his staff run their program, I mean, you would be a fan of what they're trying to do. It's old school. It's old school in a new school system, but yet with some new school ways. So can Deion, will his brand still be bright? Will he be able to, he's getting up there in age, right? He's going to be pushing 60. Is he going to be relevant to the young players anymore? He's relevant to their dads, but is he relevant to to the young players, and obviously Colorado doesn't have the money that other places have to compete with NIL. So it's gonna be a great story year two, no question. Getting back to the Saints for a minute, obviously they took an offensive lineman and a defensive back in the first two picks. Both of them have got to start and be super relevant and have good seasons in order for this draft to be deemed successful. I look at what the Falcons are doing. I look at the improvement that Tampa showed last year. Obviously, Carolina can't be worse. And I just don't feel very confident going into this year that things are fixed in New Orleans. I hope I'm wrong and they get healthy and they have a bounce back year, but that offensive line looks like it's going to be a disaster for the Saints.
That's certainly going to be the first thing that comes up when you start thinking, what are the Saints going to do in 24? Well, it's going to depend on the offensive line. And right now, there's no reason to think that they're going to be, any good. So, hope I'm wrong. I know you're a big Saints fan. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans. I certainly like to see the Saints do well. No question about that. So time will tell, or as the famous Rants 13 said, let it play out.
Yes, the greatest weekend in the history of the Zurich Classic. That's what some are deeming it. Rory McIlroy, Shane Lowry, two folks from Ireland, two very good friends. First time Rory's ever played at the Zurich. Giant crowds following him wherever he went. They've already committed to being back next year. They won the event. Fair to say Sunday was the greatest day in Zurich history?
Yeah, I read Jeff Duncan's article about that, and Jeff covers that far closer than I do. And I don't know, there was some good old days when it was called the Freeport McMoran and all that. There was, Greg Norman hitting a 2-iron from 245, 6 inches from the hole when number 18 at English turned. David Frost then knocking it in out the bunker to win the tournament. But you throw in a McIlroy, okay? And Shane Lowry, who I've always liked Shane Lowry, and he won a British Open. So you throw that in. And, I remember I think it was you or somebody told me a couple of weeks ago, McIlroy's going to play in New Orleans. Probably the only time he does it. Well, now you got to come back and defend the title. So, and from what I gathered, the crowds were very good. You went Saturday for a little bit. Did you make it down there?
Yeah, I went Saturday, and it was a giant crowd following McIlroy. They were giving him a lot of love. He and Lowry talked about that, how the fans were so awesome and big and encouraging. And I think appreciative is probably really the word, is that with everything going on, and appreciative that Rory would come to New Orleans. His first time he doesn't have to. And he's arguably now that Tiger really is not playing. I mean, quite frankly, other than maybe a major every once in a while, Rory's the biggest name. Rory's the biggest. He and Scotty Scheffler are the two biggest names in golf. Rory for the Europeans and Scheffler for the United States. So, Scheffler wasn't there. Rory McIlroy is there, and Rory's kind of approaching that legend status. This is his 25th PGA Tour victory. He's been around a long time. People remember him when he was an up-and-coming amateur and teenager. We've been hearing about him for all his life. So, he's now been around 30 years and been relevant for, been a name we've heard for 25 years or whatever. So because of that, you get that status. It's not just, Scheffler's like, in the last 5-6 years that we know about him, but Rory's been around for 20 years that we've been knowing. So it's different.
No, I agree with you completely on that. And the thing I like about him winning is what you just alluded to. He's going to come back next year. The crowds next year at the Zurich Classic are going to be as large as they can be. I know there is a limit on how big a crowd could be because of the golf course and whatnot, but that's going to be good. And you said this the other day, the two-man event, the only one on the official PGA Tour, makes the thing in New Orleans a little bit unique. Some of the players, the Jazz Fest going on, and that somebody told me that was like less than half full at the Pelicans game Saturday afternoon. Like somebody said, well, who scheduled that game with Jazz Fest and the PGA Tour in town? Well, NBA doesn't care about the other things. That just, because you never know in the playoffs when you got to be home. So that was a bad luck draw for the Pelicans. But speaking of the Pelicans, their season ends tonight. Did you see what Shaq and Barkley said about the Pelicans after the game the other day? He said, like when the season ends, usually, teams go to Cancun, go to some fancy resort. Barkley said they don't deserve to go to Cancun after that happened. They should go to Galveston, Texas. And then Shaq went off on it. It's some funny stuff. They don't deserve Cancun. Go to Galveston, Texas, and recoup from the season because that effort Saturday was just awful.
It was atrocious. Pels, by the way, you can get tickets to the Pels playoff game tonight for like $5. Like
$5.
Yeah,
It's less than 10,000 there tonight. I promise.
Yeah, it's obviously the Pels played like they were over it on Saturday, and now everyone's over it.
I bet the Thunder last night -4.5. It's already jumped up to 5.5. So I think I'll win that one. Of course, I don't know.
How about the Suns get swept in 3 games by the Minnesota Timberwolves? The Suns have 3 $50 million players, 3 guys that made $50 million playing basketball this year,
and we'll make it again next year.
Yeah. And still, that's still not enough. So you got to have the other pieces as well to do the dirty work. All right, TK, when will we be back this week?
All right, a little change in schedule. Thursday and Friday, I'll be over at Tremonti's. Thursday and Friday, Sports Shorts Daily. We'll get you ready for the A&M and everything else going on. So Thursday and Friday will be the next 2 episodes of Sports Shorts Daily. And, hey, Ronnie, 1 week from today, we got this big golf tournament, the Rougarou Golf Classic out at Greystone. Go to brrougarou.com. brrougarou.com. All the information, new merchandise. Get in the golf tournament and get some of those new great hats. brrougarou.com. The season's still a month away, but the big golf classic on Monday, I look forward to being there. Also, I'm going to win the $25,000 putting contest, just so you know.
Yeah, I love the confidence. By the way, brrougarou.com, it's a celebrity golf event. We've already got commitments from Vet Gerard, Didi Bro, Anthony Renato, Cade Beloso, Blair Barbier, Buzzy Heidel, Doug Thompson. We've got special guests that we can't tell you about that are going to be there as well. Lots of players. So come on out. Justin Vincent's going to be there. So come on out, check it out. It's going to be brrougarou.com. It's going to be Monday, May 6th, 10 a.m. tee time, Greystone Golf and Country Club. If you're an individual golfer, you can sign up and play. It's only $150. Proceeds benefit the Baton Rouge Youth Baseball Coalition nonprofit. And if it's a team, it's $600. It's a 3-man team paired with a celeb or a 4-man team with no celeb, your choice. Lots going on. $25,000 putting contest. We've got all kind of other things on the course, bet holes. We've got a liquor hole as well, a fundraiser there. Just auction items galore, raffle tickets galore, you name it. So come on out. Even if you want to just kind of help support the cause and come out, walk around, have some lunch, participate in some of the raffles and stuff, you can do so at Greystone Country Club this coming Monday, May 6th, 10 a.m. For Tommy Christ and I'm Ronnie Rance. We'll be back on Thursday, right, Tommy? Back on Thursday. Yes. Until then, have a good one. Please share this video.